the Australian SharePoint conference in lovely Melbourne.
Yeah, first time was good. Melbourne.
Yeah. Excellent. I don't have a cold though, just want to make that clear. Melbourne.
Without cold. You can still pronounce it without cold. It's quite an achievement, Christian.
Thank you. So we're here. So my session that I did today, I don't know, were you there? Did you see it?
Yeah, I was there.
Oh, that's right.
Right at the back.
At the back,
right.
That's right. There's some of the voices back there.
Yeah.
So I talked a little bit about, I talked about metadata and social and its role, its relationship with metadata, and its role in personal productivity. And I know that, so your company, so Attini, does some social tools, and you're involved with a few other things around SharePoint. Why don't you give kind of a background? What are you guys involved in?
Yeah, sure. So Attini software is all about giving SharePoint a bit of a helping hand on the social space. Because obviously SharePoint's been out in the market now for a couple of years, and the features that are in SharePoint were decided even a couple of years before that. And the social space is just moving so quickly. It's very difficult for a platform like SharePoint to keep up to date with where innovation is in social computing, because that is driven by sites like Facebook and LinkedIn and the consumer internet. So really what we aim to do is to give SharePoint a helping hand, bring that innovation more quickly across over onto the SharePoint platform, and then in the process also tune that for the enterprise context. So it's a sort of social platform which is at home inside the enterprise, inside organizations.
I think that's an important thing for people that don't understand how Microsoft works and approaches the platform. And SharePoint, I know there was this move early in the life of SharePoint by Microsoft to define it as a platform.
Yep.
Now Microsoft, one of the things that makes the choice of business users is that partner ecosystem is just enormous. And for those that don't know, there's about 640,000 Microsoft partners in the ecosystem worldwide. I mean, a huge number of. But Microsoft goes and addresses problems in a very large scale, and then intentionally does not go and address other issues where they compete against the partner ecosystem, but just for the reason that you brought up is that oftentimes in certain areas, and social being one of those, the partners are able to innovate much more quickly and more comprehensively, deeply, and change as the market needs faster than Microsoft is able to. So,
yeah, and I think that's absolutely Microsoft's intention. They love that. That's why they give us such great APIs. And I think SharePoint is this unusual product in a way from Microsoft, because they have two types of product. They have products like SQL Server, which is firmly a platform product. If you install SQL Server, then out of the box you've got the Northwind database, which doesn't really give you very much. Whereas at the other end of the spectrum, you've got Exchange, which you can kind of click next, back, next, finish, and you've got an email system. So SharePoint is sort of in the middle of that spectrum from platform to solution. In that, you can install it, and out of the box you've got a great collaboration platform, and that might be where you want to start, but very quickly you get to a place where you really want to do more, and that's where SharePoint goes from the solution side over to the platform side, and that way you can get a solution which more closely matches your specific requirements, rather than Microsoft having to try and deal with or meet the requirements of literally hundreds of thousands of companies. They leave it up to us to meet the requirements of a much smaller audience. So
why don't you talk about specifically the solutions that you guys have developed? And I'd say on top of that, where have you seen the most success, the most interest from customers, which I would assume then identifies some of the largest gaps with what's available out there. But why don't you talk a little bit about your specific products?
Yeah, so I think we sort of do two key things. We see that there's this problem to do with aggregation. In that often you'll move to SharePoint because you want to get away from having this information stored in a disparate number of data sources, Access databases, Excel, file shares, all these sorts of things. So you move to SharePoint to sort of centralize all of that. In the process, you do the centralization, but you move them into multiple site collections. And once you move them into multiple site collections, you actually do have those silos again, because there's not unifying APIs that allow you to bring that content together into one consistent view. So I guess the first part of all of our products is we provide this aggregation experience. So I kind of look at it as, let 1,000 portals bloom, even though portals are quite uncool these days, unlike 2001 where it was SharePoint Portal Server. I think portals have still got a real value out there, giving people a window onto content in the organisation. So you can look at a portal as being a way of surfacing all of the blog posts that are being created across your entire organisation. regardless of whether those blog posts are in your project site, in your team site, in your My Site. It shouldn't care where they're located as long as you can surface them up through a single portal. So that's sort of the first piece. The second piece is that there's lots of little features missing off of some key scenarios like blogging. The blogging template in SharePoint is great, but it's not WordPress. And there are a lot of things that are great about WordPress which are missing in SharePoint that might just be that special sauce that is needed to drive adoption of these sorts of tools in the enterprise. So we try and add some of those capabilities. It's things like real-time view tracking, it's a more enhanced light facility, it's Ajax comments, friendlier comments.
Your tag cloud actually is a tag cloud?
A tag cloud, yeah, exactly, which you can drill into by clicking multiple times.
Wow. It's not a tag cloud, it's not based on content from the entire environment, but actually from the blog itself. Crazy.
Exactly.
You guys are going out on a limb on that.
I tell you, the innovation that comes out of our laboratories are mind-blowing, Yeah, so it's those sorts of things. And it might be just one of these features that is stopping adoption for your organisation. You just don't know. So even though they're very small things, they could be really key to sharing knowledge more effectively. So we do, video, blogs, images, and we do microblogging as well. And microblogging is probably the one that's really caught on fire. So I don't know about you, but I think I was probably a little bit skeptical to start with about microblogging in the enterprise, as I was about instant messaging. Right. Whereas now I can't really imagine an enterprise that is not taking advantage of microblogging, for more easily sharing knowledge.
I think it's going to be, when people talk about, and for those that don't know what microblogging is, if you think of Twitter, the Twitter type, 140 characters, be able to very quickly, but that's only part of it. I mean, be able to go in there and manually update a status, but also those things which are machine-driven or automated. So upload a file that that when you check in, like Foursquare, you're available there. You check into a location, but really transactional system that is then presented in your profile, that you've uploaded a document, you've made a comment, that you've tagged something.
Your expense sheet has been approved.
Right, and that is, so a lot of the workflow activities, I mean, that's something which we're really now just kind of scratching the surface, and that, Twitter has really opened up, people's minds to this. I never thought, Twitter was useful until I experienced TweetDeck, and of course Twitter went and purchased TweetDeck. So I think there's an opportunity for that kind of language inside of SharePoint to be able to go and better utilize that.
Yeah, it's that, everyone's always looking at this email alternative, but I actually don't think there's much wrong with email. But people, for some reason,
it's not going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere. But in some ways, I can imagine that this microblogging facility is probably a more effective way of getting those small alerts out, like things like your expense sheet has been approved, or doing a communication from the IT department, say the servers are going to be down this weekend. Right. So in that way, I think the microblogging does fill a little bit of a gap there and cuts down our inboxes, which we'd all like.
One of the comments you made about the kind of shift in how we think about portal, because when I think of the word portal and in SharePoint portal service, it makes me think of the silo of information. You're locked in. Like, I need to go and make a request to have a team site made, or for a project site, and very strict rules around that. Now I look at, when I think of portal, and I think we need to differentiate here. When I talk about portals now, I think of the landing page, like the entry point into the information. Exactly. And not that everybody thinks of it that way, but I think of it now myself as being like that top level search, that location where I can go to find the rest of the information. I think that what we need to do is we need to find products and services that allow it to be that environment, that launching point into our content.
And it should start to do some of the work for you to help surface the best content and make the best stuff when you're interested and bubble up to the top. And the nice thing about, the other nice thing about social technologies is that every time you interact with content socially, you make that content better. And
you provide context to it.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually used that in the demo in this presentation, where I used the example. I don't know if you were there or if you were so busy you had to go and see other people.
I'm sure I was there. I never missed any of your sessions, Christian. I don't think they have a habit of not missing any of your sessions. They're really great sessions. If you get a chance to see Christian live, don't miss out on the chance. Never do.
No, so this example that I brought up, that I said, you know, in a simple example, I had the one database, I said there are 10 files.
Yeah.
How difficult is it to find one document when you're looking for it within 10 files?
Right.
Very easy. Go in there.
Yeah.
When you've got thousands, tens of thousands of documents in your system, how difficult is it to find that?
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the case for metadata, the taxonomy, the structured search around that. Now, the other aspect of that is the social aspect. It's why I make that claim, I put it out there as this idea that, social is just another layer of the search experience. Mm-hmm. It's adding context to that content. Yep. I am, because the machine, the system, you can only automate so much. We've put in our structured taxonomy, we've applied metadata, all of our content. We then have people that are going in and using that content, adding additional fields there. Yep. But what social does is that, let's say I've got my content in the system, you know me, you go in and you have a bunch of content that's unrelated to my content, but start commenting on my content. Somebody who's in doing research, they come across my content, they say, who's this Dan McPherson who's making all these witty, intelligent comments? This is a fictional story.
That sounds like me.
No, this is just a story. It's fiction. So, you know, all these comments around that, and then they go and discover you. So, you know, when you do a traditional search, you find based on when it's tagged properly, based on the term that you put in there. But what if I'm looking for content that I don't know that I'm looking for? Yeah. How do we do that? Yeah. You know, social is the best way to allow the human brain to go and make those connections, string those things together, and improve search across the board. It's going to improve search in a way that only humans can do.
Exactly, and well, and there's nothing new about it either. This is I talk about this a little bit in one of my sessions. That I always like to think back to the printing press, you know, and you talked about the 10 to 1,000 documents. That's kind of this information overload problem. Yeah, how do we
That's just versions of 2 documents, though.
That is, exactly. That's how big this problem really is. Right. You know, it is a massive problem, and but I often think of these guys all gathered around the printing press. You know, and they've just finished the printing press. It's the first one. It's just printed its first round of books, and they've all got their elbows up on the side of it with big grey beards. Not sure why they have grey beards, but they do. They do. And they're just sort of really happy with themselves. But there's this one guy in the corner saying, "Yeah, this printing press is amazing, but how am I going to read all of these books?" You know. And when you think back to how we solve that problem, because generally we don't complain about how many books we have to read, or it's a good problem. How do we solve that problem? We solve that problem socially. You know, we solve that problem by book clubs. You know, which is really, here's my friend. My friend liked that book. I like my friend's taste in books. Therefore, the chances are I probably like that book too. And you take that further and you go to book reviewers, you know, from the New York Times or whatever else. You know, you find a book reviewer who has liked the book that you liked in the past. And just maybe that gives you a better indication about what book you should be reading. So it's exactly the same sort of techniques. You know, it's the comments that have been made on those documents, or it's the book reviewer who's telling you what they thought of a book. All of these things are social techniques for getting greater value out of content. Right. And this is where this is the value that is behind social, and unfortunately a lot of that is lost in the buzzwords and everyone banning it around.
You know, I mean, it's already out there. I mean, you have, if you look now at Bing search, and Bing is my default search page, which I'm sure it's everyone's. Yeah, so the Bing results actually now include, and the ranking is improved based on your relationships, your personal network through Facebook. So we're already seeing that. Microsoft sees the value there. As I go in and search for things, I do that. I'm just like, oh, hey, Dan McPherson just commented on this thing, or he likes this content, and I am more likely then to go and to select that out of the organic search, singular result. Again, that's just a fictional example that I brought up there, not specifically.
I wouldn't like anything that you produce, surely, Christian. Except for this video.
Well, that's the other side of that. You know when
it got to a point.
I was like I'm not going to read that.
Yeah. I had an old mate of mine at Microsoft who used to have, we'd have these internal aliases at Microsoft discussion lists, so old style email ones. And wouldn't that swear on this video?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll put the clean version on there. So he would have this list of people, which is kind of like a followers list now, called his dudes and his idiots list, and he would keep this mental list, and he'd actually pass that down, rightly or wrongly, to people who join, saying, right, these are the people who you need to trust. These people know what they're talking about, and these people don't necessarily know what they're talking about. Now, luckily, we just focus on the positive side of that, hopefully, in social, with following and liking. But there's still the concept's always been there. It's just that now we're using tools to sort of make these more formal and make them work better.
Yeah, it's a fascinating space. And thanks for taking the time away from. Well, it's the end of the conference. We're not doing anything.
No, I was really busy. I had like about 1,000 interviews lined up.
That's true. We better get back upstairs. But hey, thanks a lot for taking the time.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right, I'll see you at the next one.
You bet, New Zealand.
All right.
Here it comes.